Okay. My name is Carnie and I'm an alcoholic. This meeting is enormous. Wow. That's great. Yeah, thank God it's one page because I'm very intimidated and I don't know if I know anyone here, but I do know you. Um I took a shower, I put perfume on, I put some makeup on, put lotion on, perfume on, so I could feel, good. Um and I was in the shower and I was just thinking to myself, it's a long time to talk, and I hope I don't bore you. And I hope that I say something that you relate to. And usually, when I am in that frame of mind, it's my ego wanting approval and wanting you to like me. And welcome to, childhood. And it goes back to that time, that feeling. Um, okay, so what happened, what it was like and what it was like, what happened and what is it like now? Very, very different. Um, I'm 56 years old. I live in LA. I've lived in a few places for work. I have two children. I have Lola, who's almost 19, and Lucy, who's almost 15. And I am married for 24 years, almost 24 years. And I grew up in Los Angeles with an alcoholic father, a drug addict father. Drugs and alcohol are a part of my story. I come from a musical family. There was a lot of music playing in the house. It was the profession of my family as well. And it was the 60s, it was the 70s. I grew up in, I was born in 68. So in the early 70s, people were still just partying like crazy. And at least at my house, it was like that. And I have some really early memories um, of being knowing that I wanted more, and that came in many forms for me. Um, the first form it came in was with sugar, and it was very, very, like, very intense for me. I wanted to eat more food, eat your food, eat lots of sugar. I just couldn't get enough, and it was just like that was when I my first memories of just needing more and never being satisfied. And I'm still that way today. But thank God, I recognize that, and I've worked the steps of AA, and I have a sponsor, and I've had sponsees. I don't have any right now, but I have learned so much about this disease, about myself through these years. And if I think back to the memories, the stuff that, it's like childhood was pretty traumatic for me. There was trauma. There were really hardcore things that happened. Uh Abuse. There was a lot of drugs. I mean, people really coming in and out of the household, and crazy stuff, lots of parties and people jumping into the pool high as a kite, all clothed, and just like strangers coming over and people wanting to just come over and be there. And I remember my mom had me when she was 20. She married my dad when she was 16. So it's like that's like my daughter a year from now having me, which I wouldn't be able to fathom that. And then having another child a year and a half later. But my dad was a pretty big drug addict and alcoholic, and my mom was young and loved him dearly and really tried to support him, and she did, and basically carried him and saved his life. But the drug use was pretty bad. And there's some pretty shitty things that I saw and that happened, and that all came out in my fourth step, and worked through that with a lot of therapy. Before I discovered Alcoholics Anonymous, I was in therapy when I turned 19, and continued that therapy for a while, but um, I couldn't stop using or drinking. Um, Therapy was lovely. I mean, I got to, feel my feelings, acknowledged who hurt me, you know, but uh, I, I couldn't stop using. Um, so I remember a joint that was in an ashtray that my mom said, "Hey, they were all." There was a lot of fun times, though. I mean, like I remember a lot of laughter in our house, a lot of laughter. My mom is really funny, and so is my dad. But they had people over, and there were a lot of parties, and I just was remember like being upstairs, and it was bedtime, but I would hear the laughter downstairs, and I was, as a young girl, I was, what are they doing down there? It sounds so fun. I want to join the party. You know what I mean? And sometimes I did. I'd come down in my pajamas and I'd sit next to my mom, and I had these memories of just laughter, and everybody was very stoned. I mean, marijuana, pot was a just huge in the house, and of course alcohol. But I remember there was a joint in the ashtray, and my mom said, I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and she said, do you want to try some? And I can't even fathom asking my 7-year-old if they would like to try a hit off a joint. Um, but times were different, and she didn't mean harm, but she just that's what happened. And I remember it was very like the sticky resin, on there. I remember it. I remember I tried to smoke it. I don't know what the fuck I did. I just, whatever. I don't even know if I inhaled. I didn't get stoned or anything, but I remember kind of, looking through the alcohol cabinet when I was young and taking a sip of it, what it could have been gin or something like that, or maybe whiskey or something. And I hated the taste of alcohol. I spit it out. I didn't want to know from it. I didn't like it. And but I do remember being a teenager and going to a little school here in North Hollywood, California, and there was a lot of famous kids, people going there, and it was very kind of a bubble and sheltered, and and it was like I remember these parties and drinking. My first I had beer. I remember drinking beer, and I blacked out from the moment I partied. I remember blacking out. I remember waking up in vomit in my bed when I was about 15, 16. And It didn't phase me. I had shitty grades. I didn't want to go to college. I was very into music, and I was an actress at school, and I knew that that was the profession I wanted to get into. I wanted to get in. I loved being on stage. I loved performing, and I knew that I was not going to go to college. I knew that I was going to immerse myself in music, and I did that. The partying was pretty heavy, and it started with, I mean, there was pot was first, beer was first, and uh, and then I just immediately after high school I started experimenting with other drugs. I remember being on acid and going through a Jack in the Box drive-through, and just being so crazy. And I had a lot of fun. I did. I had a lot of fun partying. It was really that was a fun time. There were no consequences. I thank you God I didn't run anybody over. I didn't kill anyone. I didn't get into trouble. Um, but uh, I I couldn't go a day without doing something, and I became a serious addict, waking up, just getting stoned, and I smoked pot for about 15 years every day, and I nothing was going to stop me. Nothing was going to get in the way of that. Not even a career, not even a professional career. I found a way to do it. Um, and but then I started getting paranoid. Like I started going to the market because how it was so great to be high, and the munchies and food tasted, everything tasted so great, and everything was so heightened, and sex was great, and it was all fun. And like I just I started getting really paranoid, and the pot was really so strong that I didn't like it anymore. And I met a guy, and he was in a band, and he was a normie. He was gorgeous. I was very attracted to him. It was in Philadelphia. I lived in LA. And I remember meeting him, and I just had this very strong feeling. I was very drawn to him. And I did have a professional career and had some really good success with my career, and it was frightening as well. And the way that I have always dealt with any kind of feeling, whether it's, happiness or boredom or anger or fear, whatever the feeling is, I always had trouble feeling it. And it's like I never wanted to feel. So I would use drugs and alcohol to not feel it. And even feeling good was hard for me. Um, I sabotaged a lot of stuff. I made money. I spent it. I didn't listen to anyone. I was careless. Um, and I had a weight problem and got up to about 310 pounds and got and it was I physically was really, really ill. Um, I had sleep apnea and I wasn't breathing at night. And I was tired, and I knew that I was really, really, I knew I was gonna like die. I mean, I had a doctor tell me, you're not gonna live to see 40 if you keep doing this. Um, but at that point, I wasn't drinking alcohol. And it wasn't until I had lost 160 pounds, and it was I put all my energy into that. And even though I wasn't smoking pot, I really was kind of more sober during that time. I wasn't using. It was about a year and a half. I met this guy. He was on this journey with me. He's my husband now. And he held my hand. I smoked all his pot. He was a normie. I mean, when I met him, I just said, "What do you got in the house?" And of course, I went straight for it. But I had I decided to do this surgery that was going to help me lose this weight, and I lost weight really quickly. And for the year and a half that I had lost 160 pounds, um, I didn't really know who I was. I had this new body, and um, it was like the thing I wanted the most ever in my life was to lose this weight. And I thought, if I do this, then I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be skinny. I'm going to, celebrate. And it was so terrifying. And I remember I started to drink wine. And the wine was great because I could just, get drunk. And I had never really liked alcohol, but it was real, real fast. The It was like a nosedive. Um, couldn't fucking handle anything. Rob and I were together, and I thought it was a reason to celebrate. I was making excuses because I thought, oh, this is no, I'm not drinking. I didn't realize I was covering up and I wasn't comfortable in my skin. But I've never been comfortable in my skin, fat or thin, you know. But at that time, it was so radically different to be in a new body that I couldn't handle it. And the drinking started progressing. And, I remember, I remember going to Neiman Marcus, in Beverly Hills here, and going to the top where you could like, they had this restaurant and they had these lobster rolls, and I remember it was so fun. I had these martinis, and I loved martinis. I thought it was really fancy. And, if I just drink kind of like a lady, if I could try to drink like a lady and just drink, martinis, that would be fine. But it never ever worked out like that. It was just, I wasn't a sloppy drunk. I was actually very loving, and I became very sappy, and I loved everybody around me, and I just wanted to smell you and kiss you and tell you I love you. And I wasn't belligerent, I wasn't mean. It was like I found I could relax. But at Neiman Marcus there, I wound up buying everybody, I guess buying everybody a drink, everybody there, and uh, we were having this big party up at Neiman Marcus, and I was trying to see the bill, and it was like $1,000 for lunch, it was nuts. And I remember going down to the I took the elevator down, and the valet got my car, and I got in the car, and I remember getting in the car, and on the freeway I was driving home. I drove. I was so drunk, probably had about 6 or 7 martinis, and I remember driving, and the wind. I stuck my head out the window, trying to, like, God, give me the air. Oh, wake me up, wake me up so I can drive this fucking car. And it was just insane. It is such a miracle that I didn't hurt anyone or hurt myself. But I kept asking everybody around me at that time because I realized that I knew I had a problem, but I was so desperate and I could not stop. And I was driving down the canyon one time, and I thought, right around that time, and I thought to myself, maybe it's just easier if I drive the car off the cliff, because I can't stop drinking. And I didn't care about anything else. Nothing else mattered to me. I just wanted to be drunk. I just wanted my liquor. Um, I was lying to Rob. Um, I drank a lot in private. I drank in my car. I drank in my closet. I drank a lot in the closet. And I thought I was hiding everything from Rob, but alcohol breath, he smelled it on me. He knew. But I I I actually thought, well, I can't do this. I can't stop. And I thought, well, maybe it's easier just to drive off the cliff, and then that would solve it. But thank God, thank God I didn't. Um, and I kept asking everybody around me. I started asking questions. Like, I started asking my friends, my family, and my husband. I'd say, "Do you think I'm an alcoholic?" And everyone looked at me like I was nuts. They're like, "I don't know. Do you think you are?" And I wanted somebody to say to me, "You are so fucked up. You need help." You know, I didn't go to a rehab. I didn't get arrested. I was in my shit, and in my soul, I was so empty and so desperate and so scared because the hold that alcohol had on me was so strong that I was desperate. And my husband went away to record an album up in Weed, California. It's actually called Weed. It's a town called Weed. And he goes to Weed, and I'm alone in the house, and he was gone for weeks. No kids, me all by myself in this house. And I remember calling him at night, and I thought I was very calculated. I thought I'll call him before I start drinking, and then he won't know that I'm drinking because he was worried about me when he would leave, when he was going to leave. And I think he worried about me, falling down and, hitting my head or something. Um, but I remember talking to him on the phone and really trying hard not to slur my words and hiding it from him, and the guilt of just lying. It was so shameful. I felt like a bad, dishonest wife, and I was. Um, and I remember waking up one day and looking outside, and I was so, that's the moment I surrendered. And I really believe in the word surrender. And I believe that every alcoholic that comes to AA, gets sober, surrenders in some way. They stop the drinking, they surrender, and they are and their desperation is so intense that they they get in, and I dove in. I looked outside, I saw the trees, and I thought, God, there's so much beauty in this world, and I am killing myself. I won't live. And I couldn't take it anymore, and I was that desperate. Now, I um I walked into AA at the Moore Park group on Moore Park in Laurel Canyon, and I heard some people speak, and I thought I was really uncomfortable. I was like, this is weird. This is a weird place. People are like, why are they all laughing? Why are they smiling? Why are they so fucking happy? You know, they're not drinking. What? Like, why? It was really weird to me. And I was intimidated. I was scared. I was tired. I was sick. I was physically sick. I felt toxic mentally, spiritually, physically. I was so toxic. And but there was, I don't know if I found God that day or a higher power that day, but I think I did, because some voice, something spoke to me and said, "You're done. You're done." And I heard people talking after I got over myself and my, feeling insecure and self-conscious. I heard people talk, and they were they started to say things. They started talking about like higher power stuff. And I thought it was really interesting because they said God, too, but they mentioned like higher power. And I've always felt very powerful in my life. I've always felt very powerful. I could conquer things. I had lost 160 pounds. I worked hard. I had good work ethics. I felt like pretty, like I was a powerful person. I was friendly. I had friends. I was social. But I was so powerless over alcohol and drugs that I opened up that book, and I heard people talk about that first step, you know, powerless over alcohol, and that my life is unmanageable. And it was very clearly unmanageable. Um, it was awful. And mainly because I couldn't stop drinking. So um, I saw a woman. Her name was Bonnie, and she was really like funny, and she was from New York, and she was kind of, edgy and not bitchy, but kind of like, I don't know if you know the word. She was just not rough, but she was not like sappy or whatever. I liked her. I liked her, and I thought, and I kept hearing somebody say, go to a woman and listen to what she says, and if you relate to her and you want what she has. And I'm like, well, I don't even know her. Why would I want what she has? I know she's sober, but you know, if you're attracted to someone, go to them. So I did. And I asked her if she'd be my sponsor. And I was so excited. Um, I had I had a day without drinking. I I went to 90 meetings, 90 days, and I wasn't drinking. Um, it was it was a miracle. I'm gonna back up for 1 second though. Right before I stopped drinking, um, I told my husband I want a baby. He said, "You are not in any shape to have a kid. You're crazy. You want a baby?" I did. I wanted a baby. I was like, "This is the time. This is the time. I'm gonna get sober and I'm gonna get pregnant." Um, and my sponsor said, "Don't um, don't do anything major the first year you're sober." And well, I got pregnant 2 weeks after I got sober, so that went out the window. But I'm so glad that happened, because I believe that, I was that was such a blessing, and maybe that did happen for a reason. But we were lucky to make a baby, and I got pregnant, and I have wonderful memories of being pregnant in AA, and the women around me and the men watching my belly grow, and the miracle of not drinking and starting the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and um, just being completely fucking blown away at the steps. And this book, um, I couldn't believe that I could tell someone things that I did that were really messed up. I could talk to Bonnie and I could tell her. I could write down the things that I was ashamed of. The fourth step, I couldn't wait to do the fourth step. I was so excited. I thought it's going to be great. I'm going to write down everyone I'm mad at, and I can say, this fucking asshole, look what they did to me. Look what he did to me. And then she's like, well, but there is a column on the right. That's the last column. And you got to write down um, your part in that. And I was so, and I was like, this is too much, I'm feeling mad. I'm mad about that. I have a resentment towards that. And I'm feeling very upset. And she looked at me and she goes, you know what? I'm going to say this to you, but don't get offended. Fuck your feelings. And I said, that is really rude. You know, how could you say that to me? And she said, they're feelings. They're just feelings. They're not facts. They're feelings. And your feelings they don't mean anything right now. And I thought, well, okay. Um, I listened to everything she told me. I became teachable. I put my ego down and I listened. I listened, but good, to all the people that were there before me, the newcomers, everyone. I couldn't get enough. And I wanted to do a thorough step four. Um, Step one was great, done and done. Alcoholic, my life was unmanageable. I wrote all the ways that it was unmanageable. That was a great thing my sponsor had me do. I could really see it on paper. Um, I definitely wanted my higher power to restore me to sanity. That's still something I work on. Three, I got a higher power. But step three actually is my favorite step, and something that evolved so beautifully through the years. And the higher power that I have and have had um, has never let me down. Has have shitty things happened? Yeah. But the relationship with my higher power is so beautiful and so strong. And but back to that fourth step, that was tough. That was really hard. Um, because I had a pattern. I saw that pattern. Um, and it was beautiful because I realized that I'm human and I was born this way. I'm born an alcoholic. I'm born an addict. And I've learned so much. I've learned so much about myself, my behavior, and I think the steps are brilliant. The way that they're written out, you know, and being able to go through step five and share it with Bonnie, share it with someone, share it with someone else. All you need is one person. You just need one person to confide in and know that whatever you say to them, they're not going to judge you. I was really scared of the stuff that I did, that I was ashamed of. And that because I hurt somebody else close to me, I hurt them real bad. And I was so ashamed of it. And I didn't realize that all those years, I felt so bad about that I drank to cover that up. But the freedom that I got from physically pen to paper writing that fourth step and seeing my sponsor's reaction, like, okay, big deal. I was like, are you serious? You don't think I'm a freak? You don't think I'm you know, and she said, no, God, no, I love you. And I don't know if any of you have felt shame of something that you did, but that could be to anyone. It could be to your kids, it could be to your friend, it could be a family member. But shame is a real big one for me because I like to be I want to be perfect. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to seem weak. I have to be strong because I had to be the strong one in the house because I had a drug addict father and an alcoholic father, and I had to wear the big pants. And that was hard. But to cleanse and get that out on paper was so good. It was better than any therapy. And seeing my pattern, learning my defects of character was great. Learning humility, um, and relying on that higher power, and starting to have a rhythm and a pattern over those years, and that included prayer. So prayer for me has been a very, very big thing. I get on my knees. I say the Serenity prayer every morning. I don't always get on my knees at night, and some days I do miss in the morning. But there's nothing like getting on your knees and praying for the people that hurt you. That is huge. The resentments that I felt, they come and they go. But I have learned through these steps and the experience. In 2004 is when I stopped drinking. I haven't had a drink since then. However, fast forward, relapse is a part of my story, and I changed my date. So in 2019, I had a scare with my uterus. They were looking for cells, possible funky cells, and I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. And I wasn't sleeping at all. And I said to my doctor, my blood pressure is 150 over, 100 and whatever, and 190 over whatever. And I said, I haven't slept in 3 nights. And he said, I'm going to give you Ambien, and it's addictive. So you got to watch it. I just wanted to sleep. That's all I wanted. I didn't want to get high. I didn't want to be drunk. I cherished my sobriety. I cherished it. I had a, 11-year-old daughter, a 14-year-old daughter, and I just wanted my sleep. So I took it and I counted every pill. And what happened was it put me to sleep. I blacked out, just like alcohol. For me, the Ambien did the exact same thing. It put me out, it knocked me out. And I loved it. I loved it. And I wanted more because I'm an addict. And if I put one pill, one sip, anything in my system, I want more. And so what did I do? I called the doctor and said, I need more. I need more. This is good. My blood pressure's better. I started on the blood pressure meds, and I got a refill. I called my other doctor. So I was that sneaky alcoholic, finding a way. I got 10 more pills. So I did this 3 times total. And I said to my sponsor, I said, I think I have to change my sobriety date. I think I'm slipping. I think I've slipped. And um, I asked people in the program, do you think it's the same thing? Like, do you think I'm an alcoholic? Do you think I slipped? I haven't had a drink in it was 15 years, but I was abusing Ambien, which for me was mind altering. So I know pills can be a funny thing we talk about here, but I have to bring it up. I have to, because I believe that I saved myself. by calling myself out and admitting that I was abusing a drug that knocked me out just like alcohol did. And so I changed my date, and I've been sober since December 28th, 2019. So I say that because it's really important. You read about honesty. We can lie to ourselves. We could just keep lying. But that's not going to work. It doesn't fly. I can't sit with it anymore. I can't sit with those feelings anymore. I have a strong fellowship. My sponsors, she sponsors 17 women, and it's amazing. And we have book studies once a month, and we tell each other what's going on. We write a gratitude list. We write 3 things we're grateful for and 3 things we did well that day. Because I know I love to beat myself up. And I am run by fear a lot. But I read something in here. I read something in the book that I wanted to read because it was beautiful. Yes, there is a substitute, and it is vastly more than that. It is a fellowship in Alcoholics Anonymous. There you will find release from care, boredom, and worry. Your imagination will be fired. Life will mean something at last. The most satisfactory years of your existence lie ahead. Thus we find the fellowship, and so will you. Um, you know, this is fellowship. We're here together, right? We see each other nodding, and it makes me happy. I don't know you. I see Erwin and Sharon nodding in Montana. I see you nodding and relating and understanding. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for AA. The the fact that we're all from different everything, like it doesn't matter if you're a doctor or you're a plumber or you're a singer, or you're a secretary or you're a stay-home mom or whatever it is. I think we're born with this disease, and it is a disease, and I have to treat it every single day. I have to stay teachable. I have to keep my ego in check, and I have to know that it is never over. There's no graduation. I want a parade. I want clapping. I want, oh, you're great. Oh, you did it. I want, like, pats on the back. I want all that. But the best thing is waking up and knowing that I did not use. That is the ultimate hooray. And Bonnie keeps me in check. She keeps me in check. She doesn't even allow me to say, I want to help someone. She doesn't like the word help because she thinks it makes you look like you're like the big shit, if you say I'm helping someone. I'm sharing my experience. I'm sharing my hope and my strength. I get strength from AA. I can fall off the beam real easily. I didn't have a meeting for 2 weeks. I had to go to my stepmother's funeral, and I was crawling out of my skin. It was a horrible day for a lot of reasons. Only my higher power and the thought of my women and AA and you and just this program stopped me from yelling at when somebody was talking. It stopped me from running out of the chapel, you know. And the fact that I've learned to zip it is really, like, I don't always zip it, but boy, I have learned to zip it. And I feel so much better about being able to zip it. I can always rely on AA. AA is always here. It's never going to go anywhere. And that's the great thing. Nothing's perfect, but AA is pretty perfect. AA will always be here. I can't rely on people. I can't rely on places and things. I can't rely on that because expectations come in. And then when they don't, then the resentments, and that I can't rely on. But I can rely on AA. The steps are brilliant. If you're new, I'm so glad you're here. There's so many people here. If you're new, I'm glad you're here. And just know that every day is an opportunity to make a choice, right? So, like, I have the choice to come to a meeting. I have the choice to stay positive. I have the choice to let my higher power lead my day, guide me. You know, I love the serenity prayer because I want to change fucking everything. But I'm quickly whipped into shape with that little tiny prayer. It's so great because it's like there's not a lot of words, but it's so meaningful, you know. And I found out my dad likes to say the serenity prayer. And you know, I get to spend more time with him now. And it is going to be the greatest thing. So I want to say that when you think you when you think that you don't deserve something wonderful to happen in your life, being able to work with another alcoholic and see them change too and share, you know, these miracles that will come to you if you're willing to pass it along and not be selfish and not always think of yourself, you know. I promise, the promises are real. I promise you that you will find, you won't always get what you want, but you'll be granted some serenity. You'll be granted with what you need. And boy, I need a lot. I need a lot. I'm so demanding of myself, of others. Jesus Christ, I'm so demanding. I don't know how my husband lives with me, but I tell you, AA helps me to say I'm sorry. 10th step is powerful. Um, so gratitude is something that I woke up today thinking about. I went to a meeting this morning at 10 a.m. and the topic was gratitude. A lady that shared her daughter was killed when she was 19. She lost her daughter 5 years ago. And she was up there talking about the fact that she was grateful for AA because she's alive and she's grateful. And that is a miracle. That is a miracle. And before she started speaking, I wrote the word gratitude, and her topic was gratitude. And so these days, I try to look for the God shots, and it's so easy to close everything off and not see the God shots or the beauty. But I do look for them, and they can be so minuscule but so meaningful. And I look forward to getting a new sponsee. Um, I love taking people through the steps. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see their vulnerability and how they slowly learn about alcoholism and their behavior and how they can change things and how their life gets better. I've been around the rooms for a long time. And it's really great if you stick around because how are you going to see the beautiful things if you don't stay here? How are you going to how are you going to see it if you go? You know, so a higher power is really important. Fellowship is really important. Sponsorship is important. Getting a sponsor, I mean. Um, and you know, you go at your own pace. I I really believe that. Thank God there's no leader. Thank God there's no, you know, somebody in charge. Thank God. Because I would get annoyed and I'd start wanting to find flaws in them. But we're all on the same playing field here. We're all equal. And that is really, really important. I'm so grateful that Dr. Bob and Bill like got this shit going. What? I mean, oh my God, it's just to think of all the people whose lives have been saved how they saved themselves because of, what's in here. You have to get one of these, and you have to, I mean, I cherish it. I cherish this. I cherish the steps. I cherish um, my children. Thank God they have a sober mom. They know I'm an alcoholic. They see me yell. They see me apologize. Um, I'm so grateful that I'm a sober mother. And I don't know. I don't know if I have that much more to say other than yeah, this is the best place to be ever. And keep coming back to meetings and find people around you that you like to be around in the program, and make them your life, and put AA first. Put AA first, because most everything else will fall into place. And I don't know. I guess I'm going to end now because I don't know what else to say. Thanks for letting me share this very, very long share. Is that okay, Kevin?